Considering the constantly increasing energy prices, would it make sense to buy an EV? Or maybe a hybrid car is gonna make more sense. To make the study even more interesting, I decided to add a diesel car in it. I decided to do a very interesting, for me and hopefully for you too, in-depth analysis to show me which car is going to be cheaper to fuel and respectively to own for the next 3 years if I was to drive 10,000 miles every year. There are some small details that you gotta pay attention to in the calculations and conclusions that I make in that video, so I would highly recommend to watch until the end if you're debating between one of those 3 options. And unlike most studies, I try to make it as easy as possible for everyone to be able to understand. The criteria: 3 similarly priced used vehicles with similar performance, not older than 2-year-old and not more than 10,000 miles, using the 3 different types of propulsion: electric, diesel and hybrid. Petrol hybrid, to be more specific. Let's get to the interesting part of the video, and that is my car choices. My electric option is Nissan Leaf Tecna variant. It fits the budget, it offers good efficiency and it is reliable. Speaking of efficiency, there are things that I will get to later in the video. For a diesel car, I opted for a 2020 BMW 220 diesel Grand Coupe. It is a 2-liter engine. It offers similar performance. It's similarly priced, just shy of £30,000. It's auto gearbox, and of course BMW's social image will attract even those that are not the biggest fans of the diesel cars. When it comes to hybrid, the brand that I'm most familiar with and I trust is Toyota. Lexus as well, but unfortunately Lexus, they're outside of our price range. The model from that brand that I opted for is the new 2022 Corolla with a 2-liter hybrid engine, and as with every Toyota, this one also uses the CVT gearbox. Now let's dive into the data which you are most likely interested at. Let's look at our electric car. It is the Nissan Leaf from 2020. It's the new version. It's with the 62 kilowatt hours. It cost £29,990. It had covered 8,537 miles. Here it says that it can travel 239 miles. However, the real range on those, the combined real range, is 210 miles. So we're gonna take the 210 miles figure. The specs on that car: performance 0 to 62, 6.9 seconds. That's pretty quick. The power, 214 brake horsepower, and the engine torque, 251 pound-foot. Top speed, 98 miles per hour. Battery and charging, so the battery is 62 kilowatt hours. However, the usable capacity is 59 kilowatt hours. Let's have a look at our diesel car. You must agree that that BMW looks rather nice. For a 2 Series, it looks spacious. Now, let's continue. So the 2 Series, it cost £29,333. It had covered 2,873 miles. It uses 2-liter diesel engine. The performance are 7.5 seconds from 0 to 62. Top speed is 146 miles per hour. Engine power, 187 brake horsepower. And the engine torque is 295 pound-foot. So our hybrid is Toyota Corolla from 2022 with a 2-liter VVT H XL. It cost £29,995. It had covered 4,000 miles. It's 2-liter engine. It can do 0 to 60 in 7.6 seconds. Engine power is 181 horsepower. Engine torque 140 pound-foot, and top speed 112 miles per hour. Now, doing such a study, there are few important factors that we need to have into consideration. It is the miles per gallon for the diesel and the hybrid car, the watt hours per mile for the electric car, and also we need to know the price of energy for a kilowatt per hour, and we also need to know the fuel prices per liter. The government has just announced per kilowatt hours caps to be 34p for a kilowatt hours for the electricity, and that is the figure that we're going to use. And the RAC, the RAC, says that the average price per kilowatt hour for UK rapid charger is 63 pence. but it can cost a lot more. For the fuel, the latest fuel prices as of 17th of October 2022 are £1.64 for a liter petrol and £1.86 for a liter of diesel. Now we have the electric car, which uses 281 watt-hours per mile. We have the diesel car, which can do 56.5 miles per gallon, and the hybrid car, which can do 53.3 miles per gallon. Now what we gotta calculate is how much is gonna cost us to travel a mile with each one of those vehicles. And let's start with the home charging first. So we know that the usable battery of that car is 59 kilowatt hours, and we know that each kilowatt costs us 34p. So what we're going to do now is multiply 59 kilowatts by 34p, and that is going to give us the amount needed to fill up the battery, which is 20 pounds. What we got to do next is divide that amount by the miles that this car can travel. So I'm going to use the real combined range of that car, which is 210 miles. And that is going to give us a figure of 9.5p per mile if we're charging it at home. Now let's have a look at public charging. So again, the usable battery capacity is the same. It is 59 kilowatts. Again, we're gonna multiply the kilowatts, the size of the battery, by that figure, and it's gonna give us a £37.17 to fill up the battery. And with the combined trail range of 210 miles, when we divide £37.17 by 210, that's gonna give us 17p per mile. So that's how much it's gonna cost us to drive a mile with the electric car if we were charging it at home and if we were using a public charger. Now let's move over to the diesel car, which is our BMW, and we have a combined fuel consumption figure of 56.5 miles to the gallon, and 1 gallon has 4.54 liters. Now let's see how much it's gonna cost us a mile with the diesel car. We know the average consumption, which is 56.5 miles per gallon, and 1 gallon has 4.54 liters. We're gonna multiply that by the price per liter for diesel, which is 1.86, and that's gonna give us £8.44 for a gallon. Now that we are going to divide by 56.5 mpg, which is gonna give us a figure of 15p per mile. That's for the diesel car. Let's jump to the hybrid now. What we know about the hybrid is that the average consumption is 53 miles per gallon. The fuel, however, the petrol is cheaper, so it's £1.65 per liter, and that is gonna give us £7.49p for a gallon of petrol. And again, we're going to divide that by the mpg, and we're gonna get a 14p per mile with the hybrid car. So we know those figures: 14p per mile for the hybrid car, 15p per mile for the diesel car, and 17p per mile if we use the public charger. Let's go back at the chart and see what other things we may need to be paying for. Now, having an electric car, at the moment there is £0 tax. For the diesel car, the tax is £165, and for the hybrid car, it is £155. So we're gonna put that into our table, and then we have servicing per year. Now, the electric car, considering it's a new electric car, the service is very minimal, so I'm gonna leave that one blank, as pretty much there is nothing to be worried about. And for the hybrid and the diesel car, even though these are new cars, as with old cars, you still need to service them every year or every 10,000 miles at the very least. And the average price per service is £151, so we're gonna take that figure for both cars. Now let's move ahead and go over to the full cost per 10,000 miles a year. What I decided to do for the EV is divide those 10,000 miles by 80% using the home chargers and 20% using the public charging system. The reason for that is nowadays still the public charging system is not that well developed. So we have 8,000 miles that we need to charge at home and 2000 miles that we need to charge using public chargers. With the public chargers for 2000 miles, we're gonna have to pay £340, and 8000 miles at home we need to pay £760. So that a year is £1100. For 3 years, £3300. With the diesel car, what we have as a figure is £1500 per year and £4500 for 3 years. For the hybrid, 1400 per year, 4200 for the 3 years. Let's move ahead. The charging, it came to £3300. For the diesel car, the tax per year is £165. When we multiply that by 3, we're getting £495. The servicing per year is 151. When you multiply that by 3, 453. And when we add that to the £4,500 that we need to pay for fuel for those 3 years, we are getting a figure of £5,448 for the diesel car. Now we're going to do the same calculations for the hybrid car, and we have £465 for 3 years for tax, £453 for 3 years for the servicing, and the fuel is 4,200. So the total comes to £5,118 for the hybrid car. Now there are some additional expenses, but these apply for all 3 vehicles. That's why I didn't put them as a potential expense in any of the fuels, as it's just gonna complicate that study unnecessarily. So we need to be changing tires, obviously, wipers, windshield liquid, the cleaning of the car, taking care of the car, but these are things that apply for all 3 cars. Now, what does not apply for all 3 cars is the brakes. The electric car uses regenerative braking, so the discs and the pads, you will probably have to change them after 100,000 miles, and that is not gonna be, if you're doing 10,000 miles a year, that is not gonna be within the next 7-8 years. It's similar situation with the hybrid car. When I owned the Lexus, it had covered 80,000 miles, and I think the pads only, not even the discs, the pads were changed just recently, like 15,000 miles or around 60,000 miles was when the pads were changed. So the hybrid cars and the electric cars, due to the regenerative braking that they're using, you don't need to spend money on changing pads or discs as frequently as if you're doing the internal combustion engine car without hybrid system. There are some potential additional expenses and problems. Now, the midterm for the electric cars is introduction of a road tax. Now, the government, obviously, they need to make money, and more people are buying electric cars. They need to somehow make money, so I'm convinced that there is going to be introduction of a road tax, increasing electricity prices, so that is going to be the midterm concern that we may have. And for the petrol and for the hybrid petrol and the diesel car, again, the midterm concerns are increasing fuel prices. The long-term additional expenses and problems that we may have with the electric is even more taxes based on the battery type and how that affect the environment and the battery size. With the diesel car is the engine, something may go wrong, there is a lot of moving parts, ban in the city center, and very high taxes due to the using of diesel. And for the hybrid, obviously the long-term concern could be the hybrid battery problems and the higher taxes. Well, I hope that video helped you in some way, and if it did, please subscribe, share, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!